Hello, this is Macklin with M Education, and welcome to the first in a 4-part lesson on short hair. In this video, we're going to be discussing the theory behind everything that we're going to be doing for the next 3 hands-on videos. Similar to the bob videos and the upcoming layer videos, I'm going to show you one sectioning pattern to create everything from a short to medium scissor cut, a classic taper, and ending with the iconic bald fade. This is the mechanics of short hair. Short hair, and especially clipper work, can be a little intimidating because there's almost no room for error. An 1/8 inch difference in length in a long layered haircut is unnoticeable, but in a short fade, it's all you're going to see. So today I'm going to show you an easy to follow system to make sure that you always achieve your desired end result. The first thing that we're going to talk about is tools. I feel like everybody understands scissors, clips, and combs, so we're going to focus on clippers and trimmers. Let's start with clippers first. There are 2 main types of clippers, detachable and adjustable. Detachable clippers have a detachable blade, a rotary engine, and are more powerful. They're great for cutting coarser textures of hair, but the detachable blades cost $25 to $35 each, which makes them much more expensive than the adjustable clipper. The adjustable clipper has attachment combs, otherwise known as guards, to create additional lengths, but runs on a magnetic engine, which is less powerful. You can use adjustable clippers for all hair types, but you have to cut slower through coarser hair or else the clipper can jam. The detachable clipper has fixed lengths, while the adjustable clipper, as the name implies, can adjust to cut a wide range of length, which makes blending a lot easier. Let's take a look at how the 2 clippers compare. When we look at the lengths created by a detachable blade clipper, we can see that there is quite a big gap between the 0A and 1 blade. This can create a visual weight line in the hair, which makes blending between these much more difficult and may require a different clipper position, which we'll talk about shortly. There's also a noticeable gap between the 1A and 1.5 blade, but the longer the hair, the easier to blend. We'll also be talking about this idea later on. When we look at the adjustable clipper, we can see how most of the guards overlap the previous. A 0 open is longer than a half guard closed. A half guard open is longer than a 1 guard closed. The only gap is between the 1 and the 2. A 1 guard open is still shorter than a 2 guard closed, so we need to use a lifted or floating clipper placement to compensate. Clipper position refers to how it's used in relation to the head shape. It can be placed flat against the head for bulk hair removal, be used on its corner for focused hair removal, or can be lifted on its teeth to create more length than the current guard allows. These are examples of an anchored clipper position, which means it's touching the head. A floating clipper position means that it's not touching the head and is used for clipper over comb or extra blending. Next, we'll talk about trimmers. Trimmers are the tool that we use for hairline work, designs, and to cut the hair shorter than our clippers can. There are a lot of different trimmers on the market, cordless, corded, adjustable, but when we're talking about trimmers, we're really talking about if they are 0 gapped or stock. Stock means the trimmer is unaltered from when you bought it. 0 gapping means that you adjust the moving blade flush with the still blade, creating a much closer cutting trimmer. Stock trimmers are better for sensitive skin, they remove bulk hair better, but they don't create as clean of a line as 0 gapped trimmers. 0 gapped trimmers create a cleaner, sharper line, are best for designs and line work, but can also irritate or scratch skin if not aligned properly. Between the stock and the 0 gap trimmer, you have 4 different lengths that you can create by either using the trimmer on its back or on its teeth. The stock trimmer on its teeth gives you the longest length. Below that, you have the stock trimmer on its back. Shorter still is the zero gap trimmer on its back, and the shortest length is the zero gap trimmer on its teeth. The only length shorter than a zero gap trimmer on its teeth is a foil shaver. If you want to create a bald fade but you're not licensed to shave, there's only one option: the foil shaver. The foil shaver is not unlike the ones you can shave your face and body with. They're just a professional version. It's as short as you can go without using a straight edge razor. It'll cut closer against the grain than with, so you can treat that as having two cutting lengths as well. But in practice, I choose to use the zero gap trimmer on its teeth as the next length above the foil shaver. Bone structure underlies everything that we do and affects the entire cut. The two main areas that we look at are temples to the parietal ridge and the occipital to the high crown. These are the areas where we find the most variance person to person. In the back of the head, the occipital to high crown will help us determine what horizontal form of the fade to use and what differences in length or finger angle we'll need. A rounded crown lets you do almost anything, while a flat crown or occipital means you might need to build more weight quicker to compensate for the lack of bone structure and to give the appearance of a rounded crown. For most of my short hair cutting, I use 3 focal panels that are parted along specific bone structures. The parietal ridge is parted to the lower crown on both sides to separate the lower curvatures, and a vertical section at the high crown connects to the parting at the parietal, separating the frontal bone and apex from the crown at the back. Everything below the parietal ridge to lower crown is panel 1. Everything in front of the vertical section at the high crown is panel 2, and the crown itself is panel 3. Panel 1 is sometimes further subdivided when working with clippers. We'll be working in this paneling for the 3 haircuts that we create: the mid-length, the taper haircut, and the fade. But let's go ahead and start talking about the fade, because all the mechanics of the fade can be applied to the taper haircut as well. The fade haircut is when the hair on the sides and back is gradually tapered down until no hair is left. The natural hairline is thereby removed or reduced to stubble. When we look at the vertical form of the fade, we see it's named for how high above the ear it started. A low fade is started about 1 finger above the ear, meaning that is completely taken down to your shortest length. A medium fade is started about 2 fingers above the ear, and a high fade is started about 3 fingers above the ear. This is also a great way to visualize and communicate the fade with your guest. When we look at the horizontal form, we can identify 3 main distributions of weight: horizontal, diagonal back, and the drop, which is a downward curved line. When you put the vertical and horizontal forms together, you get 9 basic fades. Learning these fades will give you the tools to accommodate any guest. All fades have common mechanics. If you learn the mechanics behind one, you learn them all. Just for reference, I'm basing all my lengths and calculations around the Andis clipper conversion chart, which you can easily find online since I only use Andis clippers. The root of a fade lives in the exponential function graph, which slowly builds more length exponentially over distance. This means that the shorter lengths require more distance to visually blend than the longer lengths do. If we look at the 0 to 1, we can see the separation is about 3 to 4 times as long as the 2 to 3. Blending a 0 into a 1 requires almost 4 times the distance than blending a 2 to 3. For this graph to make sense, we need to apply it to the head shape. On the right hand side, we can see how the graph relates to the head shape, starting above the ear and going up to the parietal ridge. And on the left, we can see the lengths. The arrows talk about either starting at the top and working down, or starting at the bottom and working up. When we work from top to bottom, we protect the top length, but can sometimes leave too much length at the bottom. When we work from the bottom to the top, we stretch out the shorter lengths, but can sometimes cut the top too short. This is known as chasing the fade. If you've ever started a fade at the bottom and then by the time you got to the top it was either much shorter or leaner than you had intended, you chased the fade too high. Let's tie everything back together with our 3 focal panels, which is the template for everything we're going to be cutting. In the basic setup, we can use the panels to work the shorter mid-length cut. By subsectioning, we create the template for the taper haircut. Further subsectioning creates the template for the zero fade, and further still creates the template for the bald fade. We'll talk much more in depth about each in their respective videos. So that's all I have for you in this video. I hope it shed some light on the mechanics of short hair, and I also invite you to join me in the next 3 videos where we put all of this information into practice. Until then, I'm Macklin with M Education. Thank you for your time. Never stop learning.